Welcome to Tyromper's No Limit Podcast.
What is going on, you beautiful boys and girls? Thank you so much for joining Tyromper's No Limit Podcast. This is episode number 22. We are so fired up today. We're super grateful to have our brother, one of our great friends on, Mr. Steven at Success Theory. We love this guy. This is a man that recently quit his corporate job to pursue his passions and help others. This is a man that helps others optimize their time, create systems, and kill procrastination forever. This is a man with an online community of over 50,000 plus and literally writes the most epic threads that I've ever read. This is a man with a fantastic beard game, as you guys can see if you're watching on YouTube right now. A man that I call my brother, a longtime friend, and a guy that I'm just so happy to chat with. This is Mr. Steven. Thank you so much. Success Theory. Welcome to the pod, brother.
What an intro. It's all downhill from there, I guess. No.
You know what, man? I like to be high energy, as you know. We've been buddies for a really long time, kind of sharing the same online community and space and have a lot of similar passions, man. I would guess that most people that follow me also follow you, but for anybody who might not, could you kind of give them a little rundown of who you are, what you're about?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's Steven. I'm an Irish guy who lives in Vancouver. I moved to Canada 10 years ago. Yeah, I got into personal development, kind of similar to you in a sense. I had my dark years, my 20s, my dark patch, or my missing years, as I call them. Did things that you wouldn't want to tell your kids about. Partying the weekend and doing silly things in nightclubs to 4 or 5 in the morning. And then I discovered personal development. It's one of the reasons why I moved to Canada, was to remove myself from the temptations of that world, to remove myself from the hedonism. Because I knew I needed to do something with my life, and I made a huge decision to move to a different country. And then I got into personal development, and then I started a YouTube channel back in 2016. It didn't really go anywhere. I was just talking to the camera about my own personal development struggles, and then I started tweeting at the start of the pandemic, and I don't know, just my tweets resonated. I don't know if it was the right time, right place, with lots of people working from home. More people came on the Twitter. I don't know whether the president of the past president, because of his pool, brought lots of people onto Twitter. I don't know if Twitter blew up around that time. I don't know what it was, but I grew faster than I've grown in any other platform. I've put lots of energy into different platforms, but Twitter is just the one that just grew for me. And then it's ended up creating a business that I've been able to sign coaching clients. And I made the big leap of leaving a very comfortable 6-figure corporate job.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's super similar. A lot to unpack there. One thing I didn't know about this, Steven. So, okay, you're from Ireland. What part of Ireland are you from? Because I love Ireland.
Just outside Belfast.
Okay.
I'm originally from a town called Bangor. But I left there when I was 19 to go to university. And except for a couple of summers, never really spent more than a couple of months back in Ireland since that time point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this decision then to kind of leave family, leave everything that's very comfortable, and just up and up move to a new country. Can you kind of walk us through that, or what your thought process was around that?
Well, I think we're around about the same age. I think I'm a little older. I'm 41 right now. So I'm like, you're 38 or 30?
38. Yep.
38. Yeah. So I was about 28, 29. I'm still living a little bit like a student, in my late 20s. I noticed that a lot of my friends around me were either leaving the city we were living in at the time, was like Newcastle. They were going to London for big jobs, or they were buying their first houses, or they were getting married and having their first kids. And I was still kind of like man about town, wasn't really good at keeping them down relationships with women. I was drinking a lot at the weekends. I was partying. I was very into the techno underground house music and electronic scene. I was just constantly, the next DJ coming to town was my focus, was my priority. And I just kind of realized about 28, 29, I was like, I don't think this is meant to, is this it? Is this life? And I just started having all these like questions. And first of all, I thought it was because I wasn't living on my own. So I went and moved out and got an apartment, got a small place, lived on my own, had a nice car, had a reasonably okay sales job, working in retail. It wasn't great, but it paid the bills and allowed me to have the life. And then I sat in this apartment on my own, about 29-year-old, just like on your own at nighttime, being like, oh, is this it? Is this life? I need to change. This is not This is not how I want to spend the rest of my life. I don't want to do this stuff anymore. So I just started looking around for options. And luckily, my brother lives in Vancouver as well. He was already out here. And not that I spent a lot of time with him, but it was definitely the reason why I ended up in Vancouver. But yeah, it was just, he was like, why don't you just come out here for a holiday? And the holiday, I came out for 2 weeks. Then I came back 3 months later with a 1-year visa. And then when I was on the 1-year visa, I don't know how, I kind of maybe cheated the system a little bit. I was able to break this 1-year holiday visa and actually get residency in Canada. And yeah, that was 10 years ago. Yeah. So I know I packed a lot of it in there for you, but I just wanted to explain kind of where I was in my late 20s. And
I feel like we had a very similar trajectory there, because I kind of remember, I had 1,000 friends like in my late 20s, but I still felt really alone like all the time. It's kind of like when the party ends, man, and you're kind of by yourself and you have to be alone with your thoughts. You're just like, there's got to be more to life than this, man. Just waiting for that next, as you said, DJ to come to town. And they're always selling you on the next big party, the next one. And you do it for a while and you're like, it's kind of all the same,
Yes.
So that's cool, man. So, okay. So you moved to Vancouver, which is an awesome city too. I love Vancouver, man. And then you take a pretty good gig there, and it sounds like you kind of work your way up in the company. And can you kind of walk us through that phase of your life?
Yeah. So I landed in Vancouver, and I was stuck in it was challenging, man. Like I have mad respect for immigrants. I don't normally wouldn't really call myself an immigrant because I'm a expat in a sense that I'm from a British colony and I moved to a British colony country, and I speak the language.
Yeah.
So it's not like I had to learn English to move to Canada. So I think I've obviously got an advantage in that sense when it comes to landing in a foreign country. So
sure.
But there's a lot of other things that I struggled with. Like, I wasn't coming with a lot of money. I landed at my brother's place in Vancouver with a bag of clothes and $500 in my back pocket, and that was me. That's all I owned.
It's like three meals in Vancouver too.
Vancouver's not even that. A meal in Vancouver, and I had nothing. And I ended up getting a $12 an hour job in a clothes store because I'd already worked clothing retail in the UK, and I just sort of repeated the same thing. And I ended up living in a house with 6 other people, like a 3-story house, like a crack house. It was like just poor, like scraping. I was below the poverty line. I think the poverty line is like 31K a year for a person. And I was earning or 35,000, sorry, and I was earning like 31 or less than that. And I scraped by, but I enjoyed it. It taught me so many lessons, because the problem that I had in the UK, or when I was living there, was I had credit cards. So when a DJ came or I wanted to go out, I just banged $100 on the credit card, and then I suffered for it with the next couple of weeks. But I still went out and partied. I had nothing. Banks were like, "You want a credit card?" No. You want an overdraft? No. So I was living paycheck to paycheck, but not in a bad way, It was more in the sense of like, I literally, all my money was being spent on rent and food. And I even remember going hungry sometimes, like, because I didn't have enough money to feed myself because it was expensive. And I was stuck in that job for a couple of years because it was linked to my visa. And when your visa application if you change job, your application gets put to the back of the list. So I stayed in this job for like 2 years, scraping around. And then as soon as I got out of that job in like 2012, it's coming up on 10 years. It's 10-year anniversary actually this month. I think it's February or March. I got my green go in 2012. I just went straight and found a different job. And I was like, what skills do I have? Well, I know how to sell clothes. I know how to sell. So I just went to the most luxurious, the high-end luxury stores in Vancouver, that sold like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 suits. And I just started handing them applications to all these stores.
Wow.
And one of them actually brought me in for an interview, and I ended up getting a job there. And I spent 4.5, 5 years selling expensively, like ridiculously expensive clothing to the rich and famous of not just Vancouver, the world. Like, I've sold Michael Bublé stuff. Kevin Hart came in once. I got him when he was in Vancouver, and I got to sell him some stuff. It was hilarious.
So
him and his crew were just amazing. Lots of hockey players, soccer players, all these like famous people, like people's on TED Talks, big lawyers, famous people in Vancouver, famous Canadians. It was a crazy time. So I stayed at that for 4 or 5 years. And that's when I like started learning sales, and I was leading teams. I've always led teams. So I ended up being a manager in that zone pretty quickly. And that's when my staff started calling me coach. Some of the people I started calling me, and that's when the brain started ticking over. Coach. I like that,
And during this time, then you're because I hear some of those early struggles, and I kind of think like, well, that probably developed you and kind of taught you. Because I look back some of the times I struggled in my life, and it really sharpened me and developed me. And if nothing else, it taught me that work ethic that I'm going to put into these other things, because I ain't going back to that, right? And so, did you attribute a lot of that there then during those harder times, man? That work ethic was really developed.
Those 2 years plus the years that I wasted have a fire inside me that I don't think I'm ever going to extinguish. I have this drive. I have this mindset that I don't care if I'm not doing super well right now in my business. I know I will in the future, because I've got proven identity capital that I've been able to start from nothing, go big. I changed careers from the selling. I went into insurance, went down a couple of pay grades, and then went back up pretty quickly. So I've got this identity capital, but I can do this. And that comes from that time period. I walked away from a comfortable life, and I made my life even better. So every time I walk away from something, I know that there's a bigger peak in front of me, because that's just the way it works.
Man, good. That's okay. We got to unpack that a little bit. For anybody listening here, I feel like, that deep self-belief is everything, right? And so where do you think that's developed? Is that through a lot of the repetitions of just hard work every day, of a lot of the reading and studying you've done, or what do you attribute a lot of that to?
A couple of things. I think a lot of the reading definitely helps, but a lot of the action helps. It's that process. I mean, I get a lot of my processes and my values from Stoicism. So I have a process I developed from that called study, practice, teach, where I would study something, I would practice it until I was okay at it, and then I would teach other people about it. And when I was working in sales, this idea like worked really well for me, because I would study, a leadership technique, a coaching technique, a process technique, a selling technique. I would use it until I got good at it, and I use it and was able to get results out of it. And then I would either teach other leaders around me, or I'd teach my staff, my team. And I just felt like that learning loop was just perfect. And then I always want to go big. I always want to go forward. When I was in any place I've been, I've always wanted to fix things. I've always wanted to, I can make this better for people around me. So I did it in the sales environment. I've done it in the corporate environment, and I can feel the same thing in my entrepreneurial. Is that I know that with the drive and with the study, practice, teach, that any barrier that I have with effort and consistency can be defeated or overcome.
That's so powerful, man. It's all in your mind, as we know. We talk about this a lot, on platform and whatnot. But yeah, that's such a powerful thing. And I think where I see a lot of people get hung up is they'll learn what to do, man. They'll retweet everything you and I say for a year. They'll study and read 10 books, but then applying it and putting it into practice, even to go back and where you just said, one day I ran out and took all my applications to every high-end store. That sounds crazy to some people, but to you or I, that sounds pretty normal, right? Like, why not just go shoot your shot? You have nothing to lose. If they turn you down, you're still in the same spot, right? But I think more people need to take a lesson from you and exactly what you're saying right there, how to just go for it, shoot your shot. If you've got the knowledge, just start applying it and go for it, man. That's really powerful. So, okay. So you switch careers then again, and you go into insurance after that?
Yeah. So I had there. Yeah, no, well, basically I was just, when I was selling clothes, I felt like I didn't want to be doing that in my 40s. I was like 35 at the time when I had this, like 34, 35. I realized that I'd been folding t-shirts since I was a 20-year-old as a job, because I worked part-time at university in different retail. And I'd been folding t-shirts for 15 years, and shirts and everything. But the t-shirts, when I first started out, were like $5. And then I was folding $500 t-shirts. And I was like, I've been doing the same thing for 15 years. And then I felt like when I was applying for other jobs, I applied for similar startups in Vancouver. There's a bit of a startup place. There was a company called Bench, an accountancy firm. They were looking for an office manager. There was Hootsuite, which is another internet firm. They were looking for leaders. And every time I applied, they always sent me a message back saying, well, your application doesn't fit what we're looking for. And I'm like, I've got 15 years of people management skills. What is it? And I really felt like it was the retail. It was the retail thing. And also they always asked, let me see your socials. And at that point I had nothing. I didn't even care about Instagram, Twitter. I ignored it all. I was just like, I don't care. I just, I was not a social media type person, because I grew up before it really happened. I had Facebook and I didn't like it anymore. So I when I got rejected from a job by the company called Bench, which some people might know because they help small businesses with their accounting. And part of their application was about the whole, well, you haven't got any of these things. So I started a YouTube channel. I opened up a Twitter account. I refreshed my Instagram. And I went, well, the next time I apply for these jobs, I'm going to have something to show people. I'm going to have this online portfolio or of the stuff that I've created, because the future, I just had this moment, this like coming to a realization that the future is self-brand. Like, I'm a self-brand, so I should create that. Yep. So I started doing that, and then I landed a job. I got a job in insurance. It was a basic adjuster's job. I was dealing with lawyers, just closing files. And I was able to do that really well because I had the sales background. Then they moved me into a management role pretty quickly. And then I went into projects pretty quickly after that, became a certified project manager. Nice. But all the time I was doing that job, I had the YouTube in the background. I was reading all the personal development books. And in the back of my mind, I had a voice saying, you're avoiding your destiny. You're avoiding this coach idea. Because I had talked about that with Harry when I was working in the luxury store. I had my staff call me coach, and I wanted to do that. And I felt like I was choosing a lesser goal that paid okay, but it was not aligned with who I wanted to become. And it bugged me for 3 or 4 years in this, when I was at that insurance job. This is good. You're getting paid good money. This is comfortable. You've got your benefits, you've got your 6 figures. It's just, money's just coming to you. You're just gonna, but yeah, this isn't what I want to do. Yeah. So I yeah.
So Twitter, then you keep building that online platform then, which is now, well over 50,000 on all these platforms, and people have known to love you. And so now you transition then to entrepreneurship. You leave everything that's safe, everything that's built. And again, it's not much of a risk, because a guy like you, as you said before, hey, even if this doesn't work out, that's what I told my wife when I jumped and left a safe corporate job. Even if this doesn't work out, I know I can go back. I can start anywhere and work my way back up. So there's not much of a risk, right? So can you kind of tell us about that little transition, and then kind of what you get to do now? And, I'm really intrigued by your job, and I love, because I see some of the fruit on Twitter of some of the guys that come back, and I know how you optimize their life, and it's pretty awesome, man. So can you kind of talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, any environment that I've worked in, I've always looked at things and been like, there's an easier way to do this. I don't know whether it's a unique ability or a natural ability, but I just look at things, and I'm always, especially when it comes to a sales process, or when it comes to your life, when people explain something to me, I'm like, it's probably an easier way to do this. So I've just got that innate ability to want to fix things. And then when I started coaching, I realized I was going for leadership to start with, because that's something that I'm very keen on. I've read lots of leadership books. I've obviously got a business degree, and I've led people. But what I found about the leadership stuff, every time I spoke to a client or a customer before I left my job, and I was still working, and I was on Twitter and other things, everybody came to me and like they explained that they were having struggles with their productivity. It was like they didn't want leadership training, they wanted performance training. So I adjusted my coaching package really to focus on results, helping people get results, because that's what I've done in the corporate world. That's what I've done in the sales world. It's like I take somebody, I streamline their processes, and I get them results. So I started tweeting about that, writing threads about that, all from my own experience. These are all things that processes I've designed in my life, things that I've journaled about, and I started helping people. I first of all, I did the huge mistake of trying to sell small courses and then sign people up for coaching. And I wasted months. I must have wasted at least 6 months of last year, from April through to like July or August, trying to launch these small courses. And it didn't sign me any clients. And then I think July, August, I just went straight to putting links in, like, hey, book a call with me. And then all of a sudden, I'm like signing clients all over the place. And I signed a bunch over the summer, signed a few last year, and it's been good. And I've been getting results, getting testimonials, and helping corporate people streamline their lives. So they're kind of there's 2 types of people I'm really coaching right now, or maybe 3. People who are just starting out on their Twitter journey or their professional journey, and they want to know how to, like, not quite escape the 9 to 5, but they want to know how to streamline their processes so they can actually build that side project because they need to have peak performance to be able to focus on their job and do the side thing. The other kind of type of customers or clients, I have are corporate professionals mid-career who've hit a bit of a plateau, and they're in their 30s or 40s, and they're just kind of like, I need a rocket up my ass, kind of, let's get back on the mission, let's set that big goal, because what we're like, we set a goal, we get to that decent job, and then we get to that job that we focused on, and then we kind of like stop. Like, where do you go from here?
Comfortable,
so like
right?
You're comfortable.
Sometimes they've got the job, they've got the house, they've got the wife, they've got the kids, and then they just go on autopilot for about 5 years, and then somebody will reach out to you probably and say, what am I doing? I've been on autopilot for 5 years. I need to get off this. What's
going on? Yeah, and that's I love that. I love that type of client, by the way, because I kind of, that's like buying. That's exactly where you want to be. You're in your late 30s, early 40s, and you're like, I need a boost.
Yeah.
And I get in there and I just clear all their weeds, get all the shit out of the way from them, and just like set them up in a way that they can blast off and get back to big goals. And then the other type of clients I'm currently helping are entrepreneurs who are just kind of like lost, jumping from thing to thing, shiny object syndrome, and they're focusing on pebbles each day rather than the big rocks. And the big rocks are the levers that actually get us paid, that get us money, that bring us in the good stuff, where the pebbles are kind of like the Twitter notifications, the email answering, the stuff that doesn't actually get us paid, but it kind of keeps us ticking over. So it's definitely the sort of the three categories of people that I'm currently helping. And I really enjoy helping all of them, because with a few small tweaks, I've had clients like have breakthroughs just in the first phone call, because they're like, oh shit, they just needed someone with a perspective shift. And I love that. I love when I can hear somebody on the other side of the phone or the Zoom call where you just see it in their eyes. To like, it is one of the most amazing feelings to when you say something to somebody and it just opens up this whole paradigm shift for them.
It's so powerful that, you've been on this journey, you're able to take all that knowledge then and just, sometimes for that person that you're helping, probably they're just in the day-to-day life. And this is why I hire a coach too, because I know a lot of the stuff, but in the day-to-day stuff, man, the kids, the chores, the notifications, all the stuff, when you have somebody like yourself that can zoom out from that and give them a clear perspective and lead them to focus on what actually matters. I mean, that can be worth, it's not, you can't even put a price on that, to be perfectly honest. So to have that aerial view, man, is so powerful. And I've always said, that if anybody just follows you only on Twitter, they'll be able to quit their job in a year, man. Like how you talk, the productivity, the focused work, the procrastination. I mean, I have leveled up my work. With 4 kids now, man, and 3 1-year-olds, I just don't have the kind of time that I would really like to have to work, to be honest. You know? So I've got an hour block, and then maybe a 2-hour block in the afternoon, and then maybe an hour block after everybody goes to bed. So maybe there's days I have 3 hours to work, but I've been able to apply so much of what you talk about and what you've been able to share, man, to just literally make those hours count so much more and to be able to achieve so much more. So I'm living proof, man, that and this isn't even the one-on-one coaching with you. I can't even imagine what that would be. So I mean, I've heard other people that have used you and the testimonials, and I want to say before I go any further, I'm going to link everything below that Stephen does. And I'd urge anyone out there that is in one of those 3 categories to reach out to Stephen. This is a man that can help get you to that next place. You don't have to live stuck anymore. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's pretty awesome.
I love to hear that you've used some of my ideas to get better, man. That means so much to me. It really does. I mean, and I'm so funny enough, I knew that I was speaking to you soon the last couple of days, and I was lying in bed the other morning. I was trying to get up out of bed at 5, and I got to about 5:15, and I was lying there, and I was like, oh man, I should get up. And I thought, my God, how does Tyler do it with like 4 kids?
Well, that's how I do it, because if I don't get up right when it goes up, then the kids are my alarm clock, man. And then I don't get the workout in. I don't get the journaling in. I don't get I need my stuff first, Yeah,
it's kind of funny because I don't have any kids, and I kind of feel like you just crush it in so many different areas. And then it just, you're very inspiring as well, my man. It's great to see. It's great to see. So I love it. I love all of it. But yeah, I'm glad that you're getting good results out of my ideas.
Oh, dude, there's so many days on walks where I have a note in my phone that's just procrastination. I have so many things that you've tweeted that I've just bookmarked and moved over there, and then I'll go back and reference, because I mean, really, you put out some of the most amazing threads on to kill procrastination and some of this stuff. Can you kind of walk us through like what's the number one problem that you probably see for guys that come to you or girls that come to you and they're you know what, I want to write the book, but I've been wanting to do this for 3 years, right? I want to get in shape, but I've been wanting to do this for a while. What's the biggest enemy of procrastination, do you think?
For me, it's not having a clear vision or direction.
Mm.
It's you have this vague goal. You have this idea that you want to write a book. You have this idea that you want to get into good shape. You have this idea that you want to do X, Y, and Z with your family, but you've not got specific on it. And you've not really reached out into the future to like where you want to go in 3 or 5 or even 10 years. I like 3 to 5 years because it's a good cycle, because you can really tangibly touch that in your mind. What's that going to look like in 2 or 3 years? I think when you start getting out to 10 years, it starts getting more like make-believe land. And that's great to have those big 10-year projects, but I think the 3-year one is definitely something, because you can almost imagine what you could do in 3 years. But every time I speak to a client on the phone, honestly, the first thing that I hear from them when I ask them, where do you want to go? One of the key questions I ask them is like, tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me where you want to go. And they tell me a bit about themselves. They tell me about where they're stuck. And then where they want to go is usually about what they're doing right now. It's like within the next week or the month. It's not this big future in the vision. They're kind of jumping from thing to thing. They've got 10 things on the go. They're talking about things that are right now. They're in the weeds, basically. And I'm sitting there on the balcony of my life, trying to get them up to the balcony of their life so they can look out over their life and actually realize that they're in the weeds. And that's why they're procrastinating. It's because they haven't got a solid purpose. And I like this analogy of the vision and why, is that I think a purpose is your vision. And it's a magnet, and it pulls you towards where you want to go. But the thing behind you is your why. So your why might be your kids and your family. It might be you don't want to miss out on your potential. You got this beautiful life given to you, this miracle, and you want to make sure you don't waste it. Whatever that is for you, for your why, you need that, and then that pushes you forward while your purpose and your vision pulls you. So you've got a sandwich. And when I talk to most people, they have neither of those. So that's why they're procrastinating.
So they just have kind of a goal of, you know what, I want to lose 60 pounds. I want to leave my job. And they think about it, and it's more of a daydream than it sounds like.
Yeah.
If you're not to have these actual, tangible vision towards it, that makes a lot of sense, man. I love the way you describe that, man. That's a powerful image right there. Then when you're kind of helping people get out of their own way and things like this, how are you kind of scheduling your day to day then? Because I can't even imagine, like, I just picture you just attacking whatever you're doing, man. So maybe walk us through a little bit of like what a lot of your days look like, and then helping clients and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I have 3 things I do each day, 3 productivity zones. I don't put any secure time on them, as in I have to do this at 7 in the morning, or I have to do this at 2 in the afternoon. I know going into each day, I have my journal beside me, I have 3 things I want to do today. 2 of my things today were actually one was a space I was on this morning, and another one is this. And then a third thing I'm doing tonight is I'm working on new ideas and new things for Success Theory, my actual products. So I woke up this morning knowing I'm doing 3 things. I'm not doing 10 things. I'm not doing 100 things. I'm doing 3 things today. And each of those things are going to take me about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to do. I work for about 6 hours a day, maybe less, 4 hours. And then the rest of the day, I might read, I might do a course, go out, dog walk, hang out with my wife. Luckily I haven't got all the kids and everything else to do. So I do feel like I have a little bit more free time than most. But when I get up in the morning, I have a very, very simple routine. Pint of water. Well, first of all, I take the dog out for pee, because that's
you want to be cleaning that up, man. That's priority 1, right?
That's priority 1. Dog outside, pee. No, I love it in the summertime, because at 5 in the morning, or I get up sometimes at 4, sometimes I get up at like 5:45, depending on how I'm sleeping and what I'm thinking about. But usually around about 5 o'clock, I go to bed. I love the summertime because I get the vitamin D, I get the sunlight. In the winter, it's just getting outside. You get 5 minutes of deep breathing. And I always try to breathe, and I always try to say thank you, and I always try to be grateful. That's when I'm doing my little affirmations when I'm outside with the dog. I'm trying to remember to take a couple of deep breaths. I'm trying to say thank you and be grateful. Then I come back in, get a pint of water, sit on the sofa, and I do about 15 or 20 minutes of meditating.
Nice. Then
typically I'm straight to work. I'm straight into an idea, because most nights before I go to bed, I've usually started something that I know I'm going to finish first thing in the morning. So like my threads, I will get that like 80 to 90% done on a nighttime, and I'll leave 10 or 20% to be done in the morning the day I post it. So when I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm finishing that thread because I want to get it posted before 7 o'clock in the morning, my time.
Wow.
So I make it easy for me to get to work. I'm not sitting going, oh, what am I doing this morning? I'm like literally meditate. Okay, I've got this thread to do. I've got to get this out, because the threads, typically a good thread, if it pops, guaranteed a couple of phone calls for clients, guaranteed. So, you know, if you do it right and it pops well, you get 500, 600,000 likes on it. I usually get one of those a month. I usually get a couple of phone calls. Does it mean a client every time? No, but the phone calls is the main thing for me. It's getting people on calls.
For sure.
So that's what I do. And then when I do that thread, and then after I get that done, I do my first hour, 40 minutes of work to an hour. I maybe go make myself a cup of tea, and then I do my 30, 40 minutes of Twitter. You know, I put some music on.
You just have to do, right? Every day.
Yeah, you got to do it. You know, go into all the groups and stuff and reach out to people, do what you got to do. And then I might have a call booked for time in the morning, or I might get into doing my second productivity zone. Then around about 11 o'clock, I always take my dog for a walk. I even know the time. That's when it's about 10:30, 11, boom, dog out for a walk, 40 minutes. I listen to audio books on my walk. I come back in, and I usually take a couple of hours off. After that, I try to work out after I come back in from the dog. And then at night, when it hits about 1:30, 2 o'clock, I go back in, and that's when I do my second or third productivity zone for the day, depending. So I do another hour's worth of work or so. Usually that's getting a thread together, whatever work that is, working some exercises, doing something for a client, whatever that may be. And then I have a bit of a break around dinner. Sometimes I do work at nighttime. Sometimes I don't. Depends.
Yeah, but just how you're on your flow state. But it sounds like you're very mindful about it too. And so can you talk to, because this is something I'm interested in. I know a lot of people ask me this question. I'll just send them to you from here on out. I'm pretty good at many things. One thing I struggle with is meditating. And my wife and I, before we've been going to bed lately, we've been doing a lot of like breath work together, where, you know, we'll try deep breathing and meditate and things like that. Just because, you know, the mindfulness practice of it, but I'm not great at sitting down. You know, I'm like, my wife jokes, I'm just like a dog, man. Like I literally wake up, I'm like, we got a new day, and I just chase stuff, man. I just, you know, I just like the gift of a new day. But how do you, did you start small at that, or how did you kind of work up to, you know, 15, 20 minutes meditation every day? And what do you think you gained from that?
Well, meditation changed my life. I just want to set that out. I probably had a lot of anger issues when I was younger. Probably still do have some unresolved emotional stuff. And I just felt like meditation really just allowed me to remove the monkey mind, or the squirrel, like that kind of like crazy, I don't want to call it ADHD because I'm not diagnosed that, but I feel like if I don't take time in the morning to meditate, and it might just be, for some people, it might be journaling. For other people, it might be prayer, but, you know, whatever it is for you, it's that little gap, that little moment of awareness, of mindfulness that we take before we start our day. And it's been huge for me. When I was at one of my jobs, not the insurance one, the previous one, the last couple of years, I was very stressed out with high pressure. I was leading a team. There was a lot of internal arguments because it was a sales team. It's like Wolf of Wall Street. It was like, that's my client. You know, it's just I was constantly dealing with stress. And it was a sales job. So I was there from like 8:30 in the morning all the way through to 9 o'clock at night sometimes, because of the work that was demanded off me because of the level I was in the store. So in the morning, for me to feel like I had done something for me first, I had to meditate, do a little 15, 20-minute workout or stretching routine, and journal or read, because it was the only time I had to myself. Because the rest of my day was given up with somebody else's. The way that the environment worked, people could just pull me left, right, and center because it was a sales job. I'm standing there on a sales floor, people like, hey, Stephen, this, hey, Stephen, that. It's like, it's not like I had an office where I could just close the door. So I felt like that's where this meditation practice first started, is because it really helped me feel like I've had time to myself. I've been able to get clarity on who I am, what I'm doing, and I've been able to relax and focus in. And I've stuck with it for 10 years. I started in like 2012. I started meditating, and I've even last weekend I did 4 hours of it because I had an emotional block. I was really stressed out about something, upset about something. I was just angry and forcing things. And I realized this was a bad spot. So I spent 4 hours over Saturday and Sunday last weekend, not the weekend gone, but one before, just going to my room, explain to my wife that I'm fried. I need to sit in a quiet, dark room and listen to binaural beats.
Were you upset that Tom Brady lost? Was that it?
Yeah, I was devastated. He was going to retire. I mean,
right. Devastating news to the world. That's powerful, man. That kind of how you said too is like, and you mentioned earlier as a dad getting pulled in a lot of directions too. I have to have that time. I mean, this morning, yesterday morning, I was up at 4:40, and this morning I was up at 4:55. And man, by the time my family is up and at 'em, I have already journaled, prayed, and visualized my day. I've already lifted weights. I filled myself up. That way, when life starts to pull me 1,000 different directions, I feel like I'm now in control, if that makes sense, right? Like instead of just kind of being a passenger and going wherever the day takes me, I've set that intention before, and now I'm in control of my day and where I go. It's a big piece, man. I love
that.
One other thing, Stephen, I got to ask you this. Have you ever played poker?
I am terrible at poker.
It surprises me, man, because I hear you talking about all the time, just like the optimal way to do things and the best. And like we have a saying in poker, it's called GTO, game theory optimal. And it's like just you strike me as a GTO guy, a game theory optimal. You're just gonna play the game like optimally the way that the game should be played.
Yeah, I haven't played poker for years, and I know that when I used to play it, probably when I was more impatient, I know a lot of my friends were into it in my 20s, and they'd be poker night with the boys, and we'd all go over and be like, money being spent, but not like huge amounts, a couple of pounds or bucks, whatever, stake, but and you be drinking and smoking and and I used to go to those. I used to get cleaned out because I had no patience, because I'd be drinking and the music in the background, and I'd just be like trying to chat, and like I wouldn't really be wanting to play poker. It was more like I wanted to get drunk and party. So I was just like, I had no patience for it. So I guess maybe now I possibly could. But yeah, I haven't. Funny enough, someone actually DM'd me once and asked me whether I played poker, because they said a similar thing about the way that I think and how I write.
Oh man, the way that I see your thought processes work and your brain just kind of maneuver from like best strategy to best strategy, and like you talked about your environment and all these, like that's exactly what you need to be a really successful poker player. So like I'm hearing you talk, and I'm like, this guy would just be fire, man. He would just go in and just crush.
I think I think because I've had, when I was younger, I just got cleaned out by my buddies. So I was just like, what, maybe this isn't for me. Yeah. So I just never thought about it again.
Man, that's funny. So tell me, how long have you been married then, Stephen?
We've been married since 2017, but we've been together since 2012.
Okay. Wow. So she's kind of been through you with this entire journey, and she was okay with you like making that plunge as well to go to self-employed and Thankfully, I met my wife as I was coming out the back end of that tough job, and also the back end of my party years. I obviously had a few blips. You have a few, you fall back into it, and I think I never
broke
a straight
up.
Line.
It's never a straight line, no. And I think the back end of the first or second year in Canada, I actually broke up with a relationship, and I dipped back hard into like the party world and friends and being single again, and like I luckily it only lasted for a couple of months, and I was able to sort of like wake myself up from it, because I realized, hey, I've been here before, I don't want to do this again, and then I was kind of getting myself out of it, and then randomly at a party or an event that I went to one afternoon, wasn't really a party, it was more like an event, and my wife just happened to be there. I talked to her, I find her attractive, obviously, and everything else, and I had a couple of beers, so I was feeling like confident enough to talk to anybody. So I just started having a chat with her, and then as she was leaving, I was like, "Can I get your phone number?" And for some bizarre reasons, she gave it to me. So
nice, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
That's awesome, man. Well, I love you sharing your story and sharing your journey and things like that. One other thing I wanted to touch on here, if we could, is this is a big problem that I used to have, and I wondered if you could address it, because I feel like I've seen it in a couple of your threads, but I used to actually tell people I'm a great multitasker, and I'm like the king of busy. Like when I worked at like a bank job, man, I was like, oh, give me 15 things to do. I'll be that guy that's running around like crazy. But then I kind of realized from studying a lot of what you say and some research on my own too, that there's a big difference between productive and busy.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, this is something I picked up in my corporate world. This is where I really got focused in on multitasking being pointless. Maybe also as well within the sales world, because when you're selling things to people, you want to sell one $5,000 suit to one person in 1 hour, not five $1,000 suits to five people over 5 hours. So you're running around all day for 5 hours, really busy selling 5 suits, and you made $5,000. Or you sit back, you be a bit more thoughtful about the customers you're approaching, where you're standing in the store, or even the products that you show people. You have the confidence to actually go and show them the higher ticket items, and you spend 1 hour and you make $5,000, or you sell a $5,000 item. So this is the idea, the difference between doing 10 things and doing one thing well, is that you can end up making more money and getting more done by doing less things. It's also a concept talked about by a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, which is a good read. I'm currently listening to a second one, Effortless, which is also a good listen. So when I got into the corporate world, every manager and every staff member is all about multitasking and doing 10 things at once. They're like, they have their messenger open, they've got their emails on, their phones going off, and everybody's just like, and it's all this crazy activity all day long.
I'm getting PTSD, man. I haven't worked in corporate in a year, but I'm literally getting PTSD thinking about this now. I forgot about how that is just the norm, man. That's what everybody does. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I come along and I switch off my notifications. I don't answer emails. And I have all the key law firms. I wrote out all their phone numbers on a sticky note and taped it to my desk. So when I first had this job, manager would walk over and say, why have you got 20 phone numbers written down there? He says, oh, they're the 20 law firms I want to speak to. So if I don't recognize the phone number, I don't pick up the phone. And the manager was like, you can't do that. And I said, yeah, I can. I'm busy doing something else. So like I strategically did things that were counterintuitive to what they were asking to do. But then I started getting all these extra results. And initially I was actually put under pressure by different managers by doing these kind of strategies, because they saw me doing things differently. And all of a sudden I started getting more results and positive feedback from the lawyers in these law firms that we were doing these things with. So I'm a big believer in strategic laziness. So like I just want to do things. I just want to do something once, and that's it, and it's done. And that's not really lazy. That's about being efficient. But if you want to be efficient and you want to do less work and get more done, you got to look at things like a lazy person would look at them. How can I do this and do it once and not have to do it again? You know, it's almost like a super efficient person is a lazy person, if you know what I mean, because they don't want to work all day long. They just want to get things done. And that's why multitasking is a busy trap. Yeah, it's a trap that makes people think like they're moving the needle forward, but they're just really scratching the needle in the same spot every day.
Yep. That's the biggest shift I think I've had since following you and learning a lot from you. Is I literally would go to bed at night. This is embarrassing to say, but I'd have 25 things on my to-do list the next day. And then I'd be frantic. I'd wake up with anxiety. I'd wake up, I do none of them well, right? And I wasn't really moving any needle. And now, man, when I go to bed, I've got maybe 2 priorities for the next day. I want to shoot one YouTube content, and I want our podcast. And then the rest of the day, man, is things I enjoy. I'm working out, I'm walking, playing at the park with my kids, doing those things, right? And if something else comes along and I choose to do it, sure, that's cool. But I know I'm going to conquer those 2 things, and that's been really big for me too, man. So I appreciate you sharing a lot of your wisdom, man. I'm telling you, those threads you put out, if anybody is watching this, please follow Steven on Twitter. I'm telling you, you can literally read this man's threads. He'll put out a couple threads, 3 a week, probably something like this.
2 or 3. I had a tweet do well today, so I didn't put a thread out because I was like, oh, one's moving, and I don't need to put a thread out. I'm
strategic like that too. I keep a couple in the chamber, so if some of them flop, you got another one ready to fire out. But yeah, man. I mean, your threads are just, I read them over and over sometimes, and I'll go back and I think I usually comment under them a bunch of flames because I'm like, dude, this is fire. So I really appreciate all the effort you put into that and to helping, people like me and everyone get better, man. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, brother.
I love to hear it, man. It's sometimes when you're tweeting, you don't get that feedback. I mean, I obviously I had a client last night telling me that my emails were fantastic, and I was like, "You read them?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Thanks. It's like, I don't know. It's like you don't get feedback that often, and I think that's the struggle of the solopreneur, the struggle of the content creator. We don't know sometimes whose lives that we're positively affecting, and and I guess with having nearly 50,000 followers, you assume that people enjoy your content. But yeah, it's really good to hear that kind of feedback, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that, what, for anybody listening out there, if you are a creator or if you're not, man, maybe reach out to people that you enjoy and learn from. This is something I started a few years back, man, where I do what's called a gratitude letter every month. And so I've literally written people on Twitter, like just accounts that I've learned a lot from and things like this. You'll probably get one, man, here in the next couple of months. Just,
I'm on the list now.
Former coaches and people like that, but just it makes people feel good to let them know, hey, this resonated and helped me a lot. I mean, we're all connected as human beings. I feel like that's why we share and we want to help. And you mentioned earlier, nothing feels better for you than when you turn that light bulb on for somebody and know that now, man, they're going to have a better day and a better week and a better life, and that's the most amazing thing. I think as a content creator, someone putting themselves out there to try and help people, there's no better feedback than that, so that's pretty amazing.
yeah. Helping people is the reward in itself. And if you can combine that with the sort of like the income and the wealth, and you can shape your life around serving other people, I think it really does. It's something that I really want to spend the rest of my life doing. And I think that you probably have this from corporate as well. When you're serving people as a leader in corporate, there's like 20-30% of your team are on board. Their team Tyler, their team Steve, they're on board. Then you got 20 or 30% of people who are like, whatever. And then you got the last sort of 15-20% who are just like, nah, I don't. I've been here 20 years. You can get out of here. And the thing about being a content creator and being a coach is that everybody who you speak to, 99% of the times, they're people who are on your team. They're people who are on the same journey as you. It's people with the same energy. It's like why I really enjoy the community. I don't know if we could call it money Twitter these days. Success Twitter, independent thinking Twitter. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That's why I love the community so much, because everybody who you speak to, left, right, center, you turn around, everybody's on the same type of journey. We're trying to create a bigger, better future for ourselves. And you very rarely get that kind of like stick in the mud negativity. I know you get people writing you letters. I can't believe that happened to you.
Badge of honor, man. I'm living that. I need to frame that one now. I was pretty pumped about that, to be honest.
I was crazy. That kind of, why would someone take the time to write so much hate? But that's you dealt with it beautifully, by the way. But yeah, I just think that is something that I enjoy about this community. It's something I enjoy about doing what I do, is because you are genuinely talking to people who want to get better. They want to improve. And I just love that energy.
Yeah, we're in the same boat there, man. And I know, me and you we've kind of come up together at the same time. And it's, we've been in start out in an engagement group together or whatnot, and, now you're a guy that I make it a point to get to your page every single day, man. And,
Thanks, man.
Retweet you pretty much all the time, because I just feel like there's so much value coming out of all the things you put out. So appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, man. And I appreciate you coming on, taking the time today to just make people better again, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate you inviting me on. It's been great. It's been awesome to get to speak to you for the first time. Actually, it's such a pleasure. I admire your energy. You're one of the most wholesome people on Twitter. I just love that you have a never say die, or sort of no surrender, kind of like, I'm going to be effing positive, and that is the way I'm going, and I like that. And some people might call it cheesy, but since day one I've been like, no, that's genuine. That is a genuine energy. And reading your content always lightens me up and keeps me enthused. So keep doing it, brother. Keep doing it.
Appreciate that, my man. All right, well, we're coming to the end of the podcast, guys. We do 5 rapid fire questions, Steven. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but I'm going to give you 5 quick questions. Just give me the first thought that comes to your mind, man, or the first answer. You good with that?
Yeah, I'm getting myself comfortable in the chair here.
Man. Get a little stretch, get a little breath work in, maybe, and then here we go. Yeah. They won't be too tough, man. All right, what is the best or most impactful book you've ever read in your journey?
Robin Sharma, Leader of No Title. It's the book Leader About a Title. I think it's called. Literally, it's a book about a fable about this guy in his late 20s, early 30s, who was a loser in life, going nowhere. And I read it in my late 20s, early 30s, and it was a guy going nowhere in life. And it was the book that got me into personal development, life changing. Robin Sharma.
That's awesome.
Leader About a Title.
Thank you for that. We might have covered this, but the biggest detriment to focused work that people face.
Not knowing exactly what they want to do.
That big vision, right?
Yeah, or just knowing exactly what they're doing the next hour. What is the exact thing that you're doing to trying to accomplish, at any point of your day?
You recently put out a thread, and this is one of my all-time favorites. You said you need to align your mental, physical, and emotional words. Can you explain what that kind of means?
The mental, physical, and emotional worlds. I honestly believe that we are a three-legged stool. So if one of our legs is off sync, we're off sync. So if we might be really good at the spiritual side, but we're not making any money, in the physical or the physical side, the mental, emotional, physical. So if we're putting too much energy into just focusing on our physical lives, just say you're working out all the time, but you're not taking any attention to do any mental work or build any relationships or fix any emotions, you're going to be out of sync. So I feel like at any time we need to have those three worlds, the mental, emotional, and physical, in sync. So you need to be healthy, you need to be fit, you need to be eating stuff, you need to be eating well, you need to be having good environments around you. When it comes to your emotions, you got to be regulating your emotions, you got to reflecting and journaling on your barriers. When it comes to your mindset, you need that big vision, you need that tough mindset to keep going, and you need to have the grit to get through the grind. And if you're not focusing on those key areas, I just don't think that you can really go to the next level.
That's really well said, man. And that's huge, because I do see sometimes where I meet guys who, dude, they got 8 packs, they're shredded from head to toe, but they're an emotional wreck, and you don't want to be around them. It's like, you need to spend time on all of those areas, right? That's really well said. All right, this question's my favorite, man. Came from I asked people to ask you questions from one of my engagement groups because they were excited you were coming on. The question said, how does he get his beard like that, and how long does it take each day?
Oh, I need to trim it right now. It's actually a bit long. I don't know. I procrastinate over shaving, and it just grew. So
the man that teaches how to defeat procrastination. Fantastic beard by procrastinating shaving. I love that, man. That's the best. What are your future plans or your future big goals as you kind of look off in this 2-3 year vision? And then can you kind of leave us with where people could find you? And again, I'm going to link everything you do below.
Sure. I think for me, the 10X future for me is I have this goal, my keystone goal, and I'll share it. I want to have $1 million a year coaching company. That's just, I don't know whether that's a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year. I wrote it in my goal book in 2016. I just said, I want to know what it feels like to build a $1 million a year company, but I didn't know what that company was yet. And now that I'm doing coaching, I'm refined that goal down to like, I want it to be a coaching business or consulting. What that looks like, that scares the shit out of me. Excuse the language, but it just, I'm inspired by it, but it also scares me because I can't think like, well, how do I get there? So I have to 10X. So my current wage when I was on corporate was 6 figures. That's where I'm trying to build my coaching business to right now, is to get to that 6 figures, to get to that comfortable 6 figures again. And then to get to the next point, I'm going to have to 10X. So when I phrase it like that, I have to 10X who I am today. Think about the person who is that 10X version of myself, and not just the results wise, literally the 10X version of how I show up each day. How does the 10X version of me think? How does he take action? How is he ruthless? How does he think through problems? Who does he work with? Because I know I'm not going to be able to get there on my own. It's going to be collaboration. It's going to be with other people, but I probably have to build the foundations first to get there, to launch that off. Yeah. So my big goal for where I'm going is that I want to step into a 10X version of myself in all my key pillars in life, around my business, around my emotional, mental, and spiritual, and around my family. I want to have 10X peak experiences with my wife. I want to 10X everything in my life. And that's where I'm going over the next 3 to 5 years.
Man, I love that, man. That fires me up so much. Yeah. I feel like, I've had some time where I was spending some time alone with God and journaling here not that long ago. And I felt like God telling me, hey, if you want to go to these next levels, you've got to be willing to sacrifice some other stuff, and you got to keep growing as a person. Right. And I love the way you describe that, because so many people, they want the money, they want the fame, they want the success, but they don't think about the work that goes in and how you have to keep growing every single day as a person to get there. So, man, that's some inspiring stuff, brother. I love it.
It's actually big realization I've made over the last couple of months. It's that connecting. I never used to connect what 10x meant. When someone said you 10x your life, like Grant Cardone wrote that book 10x, you're like 10x, you're like 10x, you're kind of like, okay,
You're right.
whatever. But then I made this connection, like through meditating, through journaling, that oh my God, 10x isn't about results. 10x is about you. It's about you. It's about how you open your heart up, how you open your emotions up, how you become a 10x version of who you are today. And when I think about that, I was talking in another space actually on Twitter the other day, and I say I have this 10x version who talks to me now. It's like, hey, you could be doing something different right now. This isn't this you're focusing on lesser goals. So because I have that 10x version, I'm able to literally talk to that vision. Does that make sense?
That's it's very much so. Yeah, that's super powerful, man. I love to hear that. Well, where can people find you, man? If they want to connect with you, or if they want to book a coaching call, where are some ways that people could find you, Stephen?
Sure. The easiest way to find me is on Twitter at My Success Theory. I have my links in my bio for booking a call. I have a new program that I started. I used to have a program called Procrastination Elimination, but I've switched that over a little bit, and I've got a new program called The Art of Results. Because my long-term clients, my 6-month package clients, really what I help them do is defeating procrastination is like a 2-week thing. It's like a couple of sessions. You just get rid of that. But really what I do with my clients is I actually teach them how to master the art of results in their lives. I teach them how to continuously improve and upgrade. And I, over the period of a 6-month package, I really take them to 2 or 3 different levels over that short period of time. So if you want to book a call with me, at My Success Theory is the best place to check me out. I have a website called yoursuccesstheory.com where I have some of my other products and stuff. And then I have an Instagram and YouTube channel. My Instagram handle is My Success Theory, and my YouTube channel is Success Theory. But this picture, the profile picture you see on Twitter, this guy with a beard, that it's always the same. I've got the same in all my socials. It's the same. It's the same black and white picture. Me with a beard.
Picture of you in that suit. Is that like one of those $15,000 suits? Did you get to keep one of those when you left?
That's a Dolce Gabbana suit. That's a $2,500 suit that I got for free from Dolce Gabbana, because I used to run their department. That was the first sort of leadership job I had in that luxury store. I ran the Dolce Gabbana section for 6 months, and they give their reps all a free suit. And I wore it a handful of times in the store. And then that picture, that's actually from my wedding day. That's a
really
picture.
Cool. I was going to say that's a great one to have for weddings, though. If you have one nice suit, man, you can go to wedding.
It's beautiful. It's black. It still fits me. I'm maybe getting a bit, I don't know. I need to get back. I was like 175 in 2017 when or 179 or 178. Currently hovering around the 185 mark because I've not been as good with my cardio and fitness for the last. I'm still in decent shape. I'm still playing soccer.
Yeah, you look like you're in very good shape, man. And you know what? It's cold. It's cold in Canada right now too. You can't get as many.
Right. It's a winter weight. Yeah.
Well, I wore my fanciest shirt today too. This is actually a $15 foster care shirt that I bought. One of the fancier shirts that I own right now. So.
Yeah. But I've got a wardrobe full of expensive stuff. I really should take to a consignment store. It's just that's one of the traps working in high end is you spend money there,
right?
Yeah. It is a bit of a self-fulfilling loop of like you're selling the clothes, but you also buy them. But hey. Yeah. It's a different story for a different time.
Yeah, dude, I so much appreciate you coming on here again, man, making me better, making everybody better. And I hope you'll come on again at some point. Let's get you on in a while longer when you start to get that 10X vision, man. I know anything you set your mind to, I know you're going to accomplish, man. So I look forward to watching you accomplish this as we journey on through together, man.
Yeah, love it, man. It's been awesome. Been on. I really appreciate it. And I'm more than happy to come on again. It's been great, man. Thank you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Go be kind to someone else today. Go be kind to yourself. Quit procrastinating on your dreams and goals. Start to 10X your own life today, guys. Thank you so much and have the most blessed day ever.